episode of Drummer's Paradise. Today, T, we got a special day, eh?
Adam, I'm really stoked for this episode.
I'm super stoked. Jordan Gauthier, welcome from YC Drums.
Guys,
Drummer's Paradise.
thank you for having me. Welcome to my drumming hell.
I'm so excited to go for a tour today. It's gonna be so good.
We'll give you the $2 tour, no problem.
Yeah, we're hanging in the shop.
We are hanging in the shop today. Absolutely, where these drums are made. Jordan spends a lot of time, effort, and passion, and love. And these amazing
Pulling
drums.
hair, screaming, a little bit of crying. All the emotions.
All the emotions,
All the
yes.
emotions.
Yeah, I love it. Good stuff.
Well, Jordan, let's get into it. Your journey for drums and where this all began for you. How old were you when you dove in?
You know how everyone's kind of got like a pots and pan story?
Yeah.
My parents have a pots and pan photo.
Okay.
But maybe I'll try and send it to you guys if I can dig it up.
If you can, that would
There's
be
a
amazing.
pots and pan me in my diaper in the kitchen.
I love it.
That's where it started.
Oh, it's the best.
And then kind of like the earliest memories of playing drums was in school. We had like a little, like in kindergarten, we had a little block area.
Okay.
And I would get a bunch of my pals together and we would play rock band.
Okay.
And I was always the drummer.
Yeah. Forced
Anyway,
into it.
and then when it actually started happening, I was, I guess, 9 years old. My parents got me a snare drum. You know, the classic quintessential, like, let's see if he's actually interested in this.
The test.
And then a year later, got the Cadillac,
Cool.
the black Westbury drum set
Westbury.
with the Sabian solar cymbals. That, of course, I played the absolute heck out of.
I'm sure you did.
Every day.
That's amazing.
Drove my parents nuts.
So fun.
And that just snowballed into, of course, like getting a better drum set, playing in bands. And that was high school for me. High school was, let's just get through high school. Let's get through the day. Let's get together with the buds.
Yeah.
Start rocking it out.
Let's rock out.
Yeah.
Let's go to shows. And that was it. That was my high school. That was it.
Passion.
It was literally just, all right, let's get through the day and let's friggin' go rock.
The goal of every day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Where was hometown? Like,
Nepean, Ontario, which is, I mean, technically it was a city at one point. Ottawa, the area amalgamated years ago. So I still talk about how I'm from Nepean, Ontario, and all my friends from Ottawa will be like, I'm from Nepean, I'm from Canada, I'm from Stittsville, but I'm from Ottawa, you know, for all intents and purposes, you know.
Yes.
I'm from the capital.
I understand.
And I lived there until I moved out here when I was 20.
You were 20 years old when you came out.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, did you ever take lessons when you were back in Ottawa?
I took a few lessons in the 9th grade because I needed to learn how to read music. And I somehow got through middle school band class not having to read music. Mr. Heyerdahl was my band teacher. And he was like, you know what, Jordan, just rock.
Oh,
and he was
free reign.
just
Free reign.
dive right in and go for it.
this is the song we're gonna play. Go listen to it. You know, here's the Stone song. Everyone's gonna play the horns, and you just play the drum beat.
Nice.
Is do thing. But in the 9th grade, a teacher of mine when I was younger at the elementary school I went to, but now a very good friend of mine, a gentleman by the name Peter Von Alten, who has played with the Sky Diggers, currently plays with Kathleen Edwards. One of the best kept secrets in Canadian drumming. Let me tell you, no one makes traditional grip look cooler than Peter Von Alten.
All right.
Just
Yes.
pocket guy.
Yeah, grooving.
But he had the crazy task of trying to teach me how to read music, and it lasted about 3 lessons. And then we just gave up.
Yeah.
But that's about it for me taking drum lessons. And I, of course, I feel like a lot of people who didn't take drum lessons regret it. I don't hold my drumsticks properly.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
I wish I had taken lessons to learn the proper techniques.
Yeah.
Because now when I play drums, if I play drums for more than 10 minutes, it's like the arms hurt. You know, you sit down with any drummer who knows a thing or two, and they look at my hands and they're like, "What are you doing, dude? You and your hammer fist grip." But it was punk rock. It was playing punk bands, hardcore bands. Who cared about technique?
Yes.
But now, being 31, I wish I had taken maybe a few lessons with like a really sick jazz instructor or something, But that's basically it. And then from playing in bands in high school, finishing high school, playing in bands, and that basically turned into me wanting to be a touring drummer. And then, of course, all through your high school years, you have people kind of breathing down your neck going, playing music's fine, but you better have a backup plan. And this was my great idea of a backup plan, was to build drums. And my backup plan has turned, good thing I had that backup plan, has turned into my, which again, I makes me kind of weird saying this, but this is my career now, is drum teching for bands and building drums. I'm very fortunate in that regard. I don't like saying career, it doesn't feel real. You'd think, you know, I'm 13 years into this. You'd think that it would feel real. It still doesn't feel real. No, I'm so fortunate and lucky to get to do this every day. To get to touch drums and you know, mess around with drums every day. I know. I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Just hanging out in here and seeing your shop.
To see your collection and everything.
It's insane.
Thanks, guys.
Right? And you could tell, right? It's a love, man.
I appreciate that.
Pure passion.
Yeah, there's been a lot of time, a lot of care, a lot of hard times, a lot of great times. Of course. You know, it's all the ebbs and flows. But again, I wake up every morning and I go, you know what? I'm lucky. I am lucky.
I'm going to give it again today.
Even if it's going to suck, well, maybe tomorrow will be a little bit better.
That's it.
And that's it.
Pushing.
Pushing.
So what's the story into that? Like, were you at this shop the whole time? And did you start out in the basement of a house? Like, what's the background story of YC Drums?
I'll try and make this as short as possible.
Okay.
So I finished high school a semester early because I wanted to go on tour with the band I was in. Eventually, something happened along the line. I quit that band. I don't know why. I wish I remembered why. I don't remember why. But my parents, you know, here's all my friends going to school every day and I'm at home. And then I was working in a kitchen kind of part-time. And they were like, well, you should get a job during the day, yada, yada, yada. So I had a string of horrible jobs. And then eventually my parents were like, you need to go to college next year. You need to figure something out and go to college.
They're encouraging you.
Yeah. And I thought it would be a great idea to go to a recording college, an audio recording college. Quickly figured out that I didn't like recording bands.
Right. Okay. That wasn't your thing.
It wasn't my thing because I was playing in bands. I'd rather, I wasn't interested in being the person behind the console. So I went to recording college and absolutely flunked. Failed.
Hey, you tried to push through though.
I don't know if I tried. I don't know if I gave it a solid effort either. No. But basically, you know, flunked out of college and I had picked up a job delivering auto parts. And I was, again, still playing in bands and I was like, okay, this is whatever. You know, and I was always the guy when I was in bands that always had the nicest gear because I had a job. The day I turned 15, my dad was like, go get a job. Like, you're 15, you're old enough now, go get a job. And I went and got a job that day. And so I always had savings and I'd always buy drum gear. And I kind of quickly realized I liked gear more than playing. And, you know, you'd turn up at shows and I'd have really nice gear and I'd be checking out other guys' gear and well, your drums sound so good. Can you tune my drums? So then I was the guy at shows tuning everyone's drums.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then, basically delivering auto parts. And one weekend I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and build a couple of snare drums. And, you know, I went out on Kijiji, bought a router table, bought a drill press, got some drum parts off the internet, built a snare drum, which I wouldn't jack my car up with right now.
Catch this tea.
I would not. I don't know.
Like if you just see behind,
they look a lot better now. But and then I remember I showed up to a show that we were playing with the snare drum, and a buddy of mine was like, "Oh, can you build me one?" And then that just snowballed. That just absolutely snowballed, and it was like, you know, next thing you know, you're getting introduced to drummers you don't even know, and they were like, "Oh, can you build me a snare drum?"
That's a nice feeling.
Yeah, big time. So that was when I started that was in my parents' garage.
Okay, so that's
which is cool, and they were super cool about it. But then winter was coming around. You can't really build drums in an unheated garage.
Unheated garage, it won't work, no.
So I remember that first winter I went to my best friend's. He was gracious enough, my best friend Brandon, was gracious enough to let me build drums in him and his wife's condo's living room.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
They'd be watching TV, you know, on the couch, and there I am just ripping bearing edges. Yeah. And he would help me build drums, and it was an awesome thing.
That's cool.
And then kind of the summer came around, went back to the garage. And then the next winter I built drums in a friend's laundry room.
Wow.
Then went back to the garage.
Yeah, how many people?
Oh my gosh, I had so many people who were very patient and very supportive at the start. I mean, still to this day are extremely supportive. I wouldn't be able to do this and be here right now without
the support.
so much support. So much support. I have a phone book worth of names to thank. But yeah, went back to the garage and then went to a basement and then ended up out here on a total whim.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like I was driving. So during that time, I had started. Word had got out that I had a good sized like vintage drum collection. So I started like driving to Toronto and teching on records. And then I just found myself like constantly going from Ottawa to Toronto, sleeping on couches, sleeping on floors, sleeping in my minivan, like at the en route in King City, the en route there. Yeah, I slept in the van a couple of times there, you know, and a couple of friends of mine who had worked on their record came through Ottawa, crashed at our place, and Mike, the bass player, was like, "Dude, like my dad's got shop space in Waterloo. The next time you're out, you should come check it out." I came and checked it out, and I was like, "Oh, this place is awesome." It wasn't this at the time. It was I had just had the upstairs.
Okay.
And this was like a full wide open unit.
I understand.
And he was like, "Yeah, dude, like my dad like is down to rent it to you." And I was like, "Oh, there's no way I can afford this." And then he told me what his dad wanted, and it was so cheap. I was like, let me go back to Ottawa. I got to tell my roommates I got to get out of this lease.
Yes.
So I like drained my bank account, moved all my stuff out here, slept on the floor, up in the shop, showered in the sink.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
We'd drive to the Timmy's and get my free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Remember the days where you only had 20 gigabytes of data on your cell phone?
You'd have to connect somewhere.
Oh my gosh. So I was a regular at the Northfield
Yeah, you hung out there often.
Tim Hortons.
That's hilarious.
But anyways, yeah. So basically, you know, sorry to make a short story long, but that's basically
That's the story and how you got here.
That's how I ended up
That's
here,
great.
and I've been here now for 10 years.
Just 10 years into the spot.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
And there's been transformations in space, but it's been the way you see it now, and with the upstairs and all that. It's been like this since 2019.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So cool.
And Jordan, like on top of making amazing custom drums, you also do a lot of rentals and backline stuff, eh?
Yeah, big time. It's don't quote me on it, because I'm sure someone's going to come out and be like, no, you're wrong. But I'm pretty sure, based on the surveying of drummers in Canada, I believe it's the largest for-hire vintage and high-end drum collection in Canada.
Wow.
And that just comes out of labor of love of just loving. Obviously, love building drums, and I love the drums I make, but loving other people's drums too,
Right, yeah.
and loving the history of drums. And that's basically kind of morphed into just being like a phone call for a lot of guys who want vintage and high-end drums, whether it be in the studio or touring as well.
Right.
So yeah, we do a lot of that here. Matt, my counterpart, is very well known for schlepping drums in his van to Toronto and back.
Okay.
I do it in my truck all the time.
Certain gig nights.
Yeah. We're, again, very, very lucky. And through that, I've been so fortunate to meet so many amazing drummers, and then also start working for a lot of drummers on the road. Yeah, teching, which is where I kind of spend. I'd say the majority of my time now is just being on the road teching, and then it's nice to have this to serve people when I'm not around with the help of Matt, and also gives me something to do when I'm not on tour. You know, and it's somehow, knock on wood, it's been a really great balance for a lot of years.
Okay.
It's like it somehow works out that I can go on tour for a month, and then I come home. I'm home for a month, and I got a bunch of stuff I got to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's really worked out that way.
That's
Very
good.
fortunate.
It fills
in
up
that
the
regard.
work log while you're away, and then when you get back, you
Yeah.
can peel it off because you're dedicated to what you do and you push it through it.
Absolutely, and fortunately, I'd say about 95% of interactions with folks people are understanding of that. They understand that I'm not here every day and that I do tour with bands, and people are usually pretty patient. They're like, hey man, like, you know, I dropped my drum off to get repaired a month ago, you know. They know that it might take a couple of months because I'm not here all the time.
That's why you're on road.
You know, but I really stress with people all the time. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to rush something just to make a quick buck.
No.
I started this because I wanted to treat drummers the way I would want to be treated. You know, there's something special about. I mean, even to this day, for now, like when I go into like an independent drum shop, we all know them. You know, the Dave's Drums, that was my place in Ottawa. That was my church. You know, the Just Drums, the Drumlands, places like that. It's a special place. And you get to interact with people who are nerdy like you.
That's just
and that's literally
what we're doing.
Exactly. You guys get it. And that's why I started this, because I just wanted to meet other drummers, nerd out with other drummers, and try and just help them out. And also give myself a way to make a living.
100%. If you can mix the two, you're winning.
Exactly.
You've got the freedom, right? That everyone chases.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Big time.
So good, so good. So you're touring with some bands now. What are the bands that you're touring with?
The main band I've been touring with for the last, this will be my third year with them, is a band from Connecticut called Goose.
Goose, okay.
An incredible jam band.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been with them this will be my third year. And I'm not blowing smoke. And if any of them watch this, they know I'm not blowing smoke because they know I don't blow smoke.
Okay.
I'm sometimes
Straight
maybe a
honest.
bit too much of a straight shooter.
Yeah, that's good.
It's incredible what these four gentlemen do on stage. The musicianship, the way they curate their shows. You know, it's a jam band, which I wasn't familiar with jam bands at the time until I started working for them. You know, and it's like, here's a band that plays for over 3 hours a night, every night. And they sound check every day for like an hour and a half. And they're and then they'll sound check, then they'll go into they have a rehearsal room backstage, and they'll jam in there for 2 hours. And it's incredible. The commitment, the dedication, and I mean the greatest thing about it all is they're the nicest dudes ever. Right. So I'm very, very fortunate to be a part of that team.
Yeah.
Shadows in the moonlight, kings and queens of the afterglow. Sister, can you hear it? They're calling from the deep. The evolutionary instinct. Get up, move your body.
They live stream every concert.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they live stream every concert.
cool.
No free ads, so I'm not going to tell you where to find it. No free ads. But there's a streaming service that they use that they live stream every show in real time. So if they're playing a show in Los Angeles, you log on and you can watch the show. Wow. Multi-camera, it's incredible.
Yeah, that's a smart
like
idea.
This band they're really dialed.
Yeah.
The light show's incredible. The audio, Jeremy, who mixes the live stream audio, incredible mix engineer. Eric Loomis, the front of house engineer, mad scientist.
Okay.
Andrew Getty. I'm shouting out all these people. They're like family to me.
Yeah.
Andrew Getty, the lighting designer, psycho. Just like the craziest lighting show you've ever seen. But yeah, you can just YouTube Goose live, and you can watch. You can watch them play Madison Square Garden last year, the whole show, for free.
Cool, that's amazing.
You know, so yeah, that's the main band I travel with now, and then I have for a few years now, and still do my very, very good friends in Alexis on Fire, who, you know, I feel like for so many people my age, they were the band growing up.
Yeah.
They were my favorite band. They were absolutely my favorite
Days of the
band.
Cathedral, man.
Oh my gosh. You know, and like, dude, Jordan Hastings. How many times I tried to rip him off while playing drums, and now he's like a brother to me now.
Yeah,
he was at my wedding.
I tried to steal that part off.
Yeah, straight up.
Killer player too, though.
Dude, so imagine getting to watch that absolute like furious cloud tornado of energy, getting the treat to get to watch that every night.
And set them up and help them
Oh
out.
my gosh.
Yeah,
and I was fortunate enough I worked in the studio. How I got that gig was I worked in the studio with them on their last record, Otherness. And just like getting to be a fly on the wall in the studio and watching the creative process happen, what a treat.
I'm sure it would.
You know, especially being a fan.
Yeah,
you know,
100%,
growing
right?
up being like, this is the band.
Yeah.
This is my band. And I feel like so many people my age have that connection with them, where it's like, you remember like, what's this crazy chaotic music that's coming out of my radio right now?
Yeah, them and
This
Moneen.
screaming. Dude, Moneen.
them and
Moneen was my first. Moneen was my first ever show.
Was it really?
Moneen was on the
At
Red.
Cathedral? When was it?
No, at the Capitol Music Hall in Ottawa.
in Ottawa,
And it was
okay.
on the Red
Music
Tree
Hall.
tour. And Kenny Bridges, their singer guitar player, is a very, very good friend of mine. I actually worked with him with Alexis on Fire. He was Dallas's guitar tech for quite some time.
Fun.
And he's in Dashboard Confessional now.
Oh, yeah, nice.
But yeah, Moneen is, oh my God. We could have a whole podcast just about Moneen.
Yeah. We'll hit it up. No, that's awesome. Good stuff. So yeah, you're working with them, and they're playing some shows coming up. So you're gonna be busy.
Yeah. It's going to be between both bands. It's going to be quite a busy year.
Perfect. Right on. So what do you got coming up for any big builds? Anything in the shop coming up?
I have something I can talk about now, which I
what do you
wasn't
got?
able to talk
What do you
about.
got?
Very, very, very cool opportunity came across my desk from my good buddy Mikey Hayden, who's an awesome drum tech who drum techs for Zach Bryan.
Okay.
And my buddy Mikey called me one day and he goes, maybe it was a text message, but it sounds cooler if I say he called me.
He called me. Yeah.
He called me. I think it was a text message,
Send me
but
facts.
you know, it was kind of like, hey, like we need. They play in the round, so he's like, we need. You know, we're starting up this touring cycle for the year. We want to get 2 new drum kits. Would you build us 2 drum kits for Nate, their drummer? And I said, yeah, absolutely,
100%.
absolutely, for sure. And then it was like in the classic. This always happens, right? It's like, well, there's a catch, and what's the catch? Well, we need them in LA in 3 weeks, and you're like, oh my gosh! And it's 1 drum kit,
Maybe.
sure, 2 drum kits. So it was like days of like 14-hour days in here. I'd go home, my hands were bleeding, blisters, just because it was just so much so quick, and. Again, I have this whole thing where I don't like to rush stuff.
Right.
So the only way to not rush stuff is you basically hope that everything works out and you don't drill something wrong or scratch something. But I got both drum kits done, and they're in the States with those cats now, and they're starting this weekend. So I'm very excited
hopefully get some video
to
on
go
that.
on Instagram Sunday morning and do a little scroll and see the drums. Really cool experience. Or sorry, not experience.
Opportunity,
but experience maybe.
It is.
Very, very great opportunity from my good friend Mikey and Nate. They trusted me with building them 2 drum kits. And they've been playing them over the last few days, and they've been texting me like, "Oh, dude, we love them," and I'm like, "Oh, thank," because that's the biggest scare in the world.
What were they? Were they like maple?
So they're the standard. So I have a proprietary shell design that I designed a few years back. This snare drum would definitely be it. There's a couple of like prototypes here, but it's a maple and poplar blend shell.
Okay.
So I had this idea where I love old school Ludwigs, and I know we were talking about this.
Yeah.
And I love that 3-ply maple, poplar, maple. Obviously, they did the mahogany, poplar, maple, and they did mahogany, poplar, mahogany. But the maple, poplar, maple, to my ear, maybe it's because of the first vintage drum I ever bought, was that shell. But I love those shells. But they have the big reinforcement rings and big rounded bearing edges. So I had this thought a few years back where I was like, how do I take that shell and modernize it? Well, the way shells are constructed today, thinner plies, more plies.
Yep.
So basically, for forever, I was using just a straight 8-ply maple shell. And I was like, well, what if we took the core of the shell and traded those maple plies for poplar? Did that, had a few prototypes made a couple of snare drums, and made a kit out of them. The kit again, talking about having people in your corner. Tim Oxford, the drummer for Arkells, like a brother to me. I was his drum tech for quite some time, and now Matt, who works here, is his drum tech. I made this prototype kit and sent it over to Tim to play, and he loved them. Made some snare drums. I was like, okay, this is all working. I'm like, and I remember hitting those toms when I finished them and being like, oh yeah, that's the sound I wanted. Because you get that modern bite, but with that vintage warmth.
Right. So
that's what those shells are. And I'd say about 95% of the wood drums I build here are that maple poplar shell. Yeah. So with them, it's 2 drum kits, 1 silver sparkle, which is one of my all-time favorite vintage finishes, and then another black sparkle, 12 by 8, 13 by 9, 16 by 14, 20 by 16 on the kicks. And I called Mikey and I was like, hey, I got this idea. And he was like, well, tell me about it. And I was like, a lot of people typically you build 20-inch bass drums, like the one behind us, with 8 lugs. Sometimes I keep hitting your leg. I'm so sorry, I'm getting your leg all dusty. I'm sorry, you're not gonna leave the shop without some sawdust on you, I promise you. But I said to Mikey, I was like, you build 8 lug, sometimes there's some companies that do 20-inch kick drums with 10 lugs. I was like, if we drop it down to 6 lugs, it'll spread that tension across the head, and you'll be able to get a lower note without the drum head feeling saggy.
Yeah, saggy.
Right? And without, sometimes with those bass drums that have a lot of, the 10 lug bass drums, if you tune them really low, the tension rods start backing out of them. So I was like, let's do 6 lugs. And the only other time I did a 6 lug 20 was for Danny Miles, the drummer for July Talk. And that's my favorite 20-inch kick drum I've ever built. But his was 20 by 14, and they really wanted 20 by 16. They wanted a bit more power, a bit more volume, because Nate was dropping down from 22-inch kick drums. So we did the 20s with the 6 lugs.
Dude.
Oh my gosh.
The money,
Dude.
the best.
That's it.
The best. Do you have any pictures of that?
I can send some over to you, no problem.
Flash some of that above.
No problem.
For sure.
Yeah.
That is super nice. That's an exciting story.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, Zach Bryan's a massive artist.
Right?
Yeah,
man.
Playing stadiums.
Right? Yeah.
He played
selling out stadiums.
Dude, not just playing them, selling them out. So, yeah, very, very cool opportunity. Shout out to Mikey and Nate. Absolute beauties.
That's super cool. That's cool.
It's amazing. And it's Canadian made, eh?
Yeah, it is. They're absolutely Canadian made by some really gross, horrible, dry Canadian hands.
That's funny. So let's take a tour through your setup upstairs, and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do this. Let's go check this out.
We'll show you my drumming hell.
Oh. I don't know if I should be excited or nervous.
It might be some people's heaven, but it's my hell. No, it's where dreams are made of.
We're going into the vault.
The vault. The vault. The room of snare wire in your face whenever you talk. Yeah, this is
Look at this.
This is what I've been doing with my life outside of building drums, is collecting old drums and fixing up old drums. And
So you got beautiful Rogers.
yeah, there's if you're going to tell people that you have any drum that they could ever need for a recording session, you better put up or shut up, right? So that's kind of it. So yeah, this is kind of like a bunch of different stuff, some Brady's, Gretsch, 60s, 70s, 80s, just a mixed bag on this shelf. And then when you get over to this shelf, okay, so up here on this shelf, you have primarily Ludwig. There's a couple of Leedies in here, but from the early 1900s all the way to the 50s. Ludwig and Ludwigs from the 40s, Slingerland Radio Kings from the 40s through to the 60s. I love Radio Kings. And then you get down here and you're starting in the late 50s all the way through to the late 70s into the 80s. These two, this is all Ludwig. So you have your chrome over brass. You have your classic Superphonics, the aluminum, and the Ludaloy shell, Ludaloy, I don't know how to pronounce it. Acrylites. You got your bronze. you got your black beauties from when they brought that snare drum back in
Yeah.
1977. And then to round it up, you got a couple of Coliseums, slotted, not slotted. And then you get over here on this shelf, a bunch of vintage Ludwigs, 50s through the 70s. This shelf here is DW, primarily DW Craviatos. I love Craviato snare drums. And then you gotta have some DW Edge drums, one in every size.
Jordan, this collection is like, it's just starting. And
Yeah.
It's so overwhelming.
And then on this shelf here, a whole lot of snare drums from fellow Canadian drum builder Ron Dennett.
Okay. Out of Vancouver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super innovative drum builder. You know, these, again, you got to think about this collection. It's not just for me. It's with the mindset of what's popular in rentals.
For
Running
sure.
a business.
For sure.
Dennett snare drums are very popular with a lot of studio guys. So kind of have, you know, aluminum, brass,
Yeah.
copper. Of course, you have titaniums, some solid ones. And then down here, this is kind of really cool, in my opinion, when DW was doing cast bronze shells in the late 90s and early 2000s. 5 2.6s, which a lot of people know as the Josh Freese model.
Yeah.
And then this is one, I've only ever seen one other example. This is a 7x14. DW Keplinger, which I'll get on a whole rant about Greg Keplinger in about 2 minutes. The original DW brass snare drums made out of Gonbop Timbali shells, some more Donnettes. So yeah.
Well, then we get over here.
Yeah, and then you get
Let's
over
keep
here.
going here. Here we go. We got some.
So this is, again, some more Ludwigs, WFLs, 40s, 50s, in a bunch of different sizes, 60s, and then 80s Tama, which I
is
like
a
love
whole-
80
this
Tama
is-
drums. 80s Tama superstars, the toms and the bass drums, I really, really love. The snares are great too, of course, but you'll see over there when we get to the other side of the room. Pearl solid shells. Of course, you have to have a free floater piccolo. I mean, don't we all love Jeff Beccaro? Come on. Yamahas. And then this shelf here, bleeding
Yeah,
into
it's-
this shelf, this is Keplinger land. Greg Keplinger is an inspiration to me. He's become a friend. Greg is a legendary snare drum builder and was also Jeremy Taggart from Our Lady Pieces drum tech, Matt Cameron's drum tech.
Okay.
He still builds drums to this day and he's into his 70s. Dude, every drum he touches has a story. And I buy him whenever I can because I love him. And he's actually made a couple of for me personally. He's a near and dear friend, someone who I look up to as a drum builder quite a lot. And I believe he labels himself as a drum tinkerer. And I like to think I'm a bit of a drum tinkerer myself. Yeah, and then more Keplingers, a couple more Ludwigs, Craviatos, some mix and match stuff down at the bottom. And then, yeah, you just come through here. Pearl reference stuff, just to have a Pearl shell bank for rentals.
Yeah.
I love old Slingerland Radio Kings. I have pretty much every size. You can't see them. And then I actually have 4 more stored right now in the US that I'm gonna get back up here. 4 more bass drums, or 2 bass drums, 2 toms. But when that happens, I'll have every size Radio King. I love Radio King drums. I also love, and a lot of people say these don't record well, and they're out to lunch because they record
Great.
phenomenally well. 70s Ludwig stainless steel. 26, get your John Bonham on, 22, 24 on the other side, pretty much every size. Yamaha recording customs. These are the originals from the late 70s, and then, well, this is a mixed bag, so it's one's from the late 70s and one's from the early 80s. But old school Yamaha recording customs, I absolutely love. They record like a dream. Vintage Gretsch, we all know they record like a dream. I don't have to tell you that. You know they record like a dream. Everyone's used them, everyone's heard them. So yeah, lots of Gretsch. This is kind of Gretsch corner, and then we kind of get into the Ludwig corner.
This is beautiful.
Dude, so Ludwig Blue Sparkles, slowly getting to having every size. Blue Vista Lights, still missing a few sizes. White Cortex, pretty much every size, but of course, always missing sizes. This kit right here,
This is
this 13, 16, and 24. These Ludwig and Ludwigs, I should probably take them home. This is my favorite sounding kit I've ever owned. These toms sound like absolute butter. If you listen to the last City and Color record, it was those toms. I brought Leon 4 kits for that recording session, and he just stuck with these 2 toms and that Silver Sparkle kick drum. That was the first thing we set up, and he used it the whole record. And we brought 4 kits.
just
These things, the toms, especially the kick, sound awesome, and that's a 26. The 26 sounds rad too.
just the heritage in it.
I know.
You know, like
And if you put old school calf heads on these, or you get some Bovid heads from my good friends over at Bovid Percussion, they make the best calf skids around. And then get over here. I feel like
got some Tamas.
I feel like every kind of like loud rock record I've drum teched in the last 5 years has been something from this pile. The 80s superstars, there's something magical about them, I think. And you can get them, they're not super, super expensive to buy. You can find them for pretty good price. Got some Rogers under there. And then DW shell bank, just because again, we do a lot of rentals. So when people call us going, hey, we need a DW kit in these sizes, we have every size. More vintage Ludwigs, WFLs. And then more, you guessed it, vintage Ludwigs.
This is another beautiful
Blue Oyster Pearl, classic.
just
I'm not personally a big black oyster pearl guy, the Ringo finish. I like the blue better, especially when you get it, it's aged and has this green kind of hue to it. And then of course Thermogloss, because John Bonham is king. And then White Marine Pearl. Again, pretty much every size. There's always 1 or 2 sizes that I'm still chasing after.
Still trying to get.
Yeah, but try and give drummers, especially when you do recording sessions and guys want different sounds. It's nice. They go, okay, you start talking to them and they're like, this is what I want my record to sound like. You're like, okay, vintage Ludwigs. They're like, well, I want some songs to have a big kit, some to have a small kit. It's kind of really good looking when you show up and everything matches. So that's kind of the idea here.
For sure.
And then also just for rentals, when just having everything on deck, because we get asked for different sizes and different configurations all the time.
Yeah, you got that straight forward to the floor. You want that big punch.
Yeah.
You want that 26.
Exactly.
Right?
You want it a little tighter. You want to play a 2012-14. You want to do the Motown
and if the 14 rack is sounding great, why touch it?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's just incorporate that kick drum in.
So just having options.
Have the variety.
And then
Look at this though.
This is the stack. This is the stack of bronze. So that's an 80s Tom Bell brass. You've heard that. Everyone's heard that on, not this specific drum. I mean, it's been on a lot of Canadian rock records in the last decade, but a lot of music in general since the 80s, you've heard that snare drum.
For sure.
And then Dave Elich with DW a few years back came out with the TrueCast series. And it's a very unique drum because it's a cast bronze shell, but it's concaved. So instead of having it have reinforcement rings where it's 5 millimeters at the edge and 3 millimeters in the center, it actually scoops. It's concave. No one else has ever done that. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, it's so unique and they're so limited. I was like, I have to own it. And they started with the 6.5 and the 8, and then they came out with the 5, and then they came out with the 7, and now they're coming out with the 4. And I've ordered the 4.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna start, you might as well finish.
Right.
But Dave, if you're gonna make 13s, I'm not buying the 13.
You heard it.
I'm probably buying the 13.
You're buying it.
But yeah, and that's it.
An impressive collection.
Thank you. And then I have some. I have a bunch of stuff at home as well that is kind of more personal collection, sentimental drums. I got a Camco kit that I love at home, Slingerland Radio King kit at home, or 2 Radio King kits at home, an old Ludwig kit, and then a bunch of just Ludwig snares and Radio King snares and Craviotto snares that are my They're like, where I go upstairs and I'm like, no one gets to rent these. These are mine. So
are
I
mine,
got some
yeah.
more stuff at home, but this is the gist of it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this with Drummers Paradise.
Thank you guys for asking me
You
to.
know,
I
like this
appreciate
is
it.
rad. You're such a rad dude. And
Thanks, man. Anytime I get a chance to talk drums, I mean, again, like I said, the fact that I get to wake up and tinker with drums. Get to tinker with drums. It's a good day.
And then head out on the road
Yes.
and travel safe.
Thank you.
And thanks again, Nate.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you.
What a collection. What a place. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful.
Don't
shot,
tell
man.
people where we are right now.
No, there's no.
There's an alarm though, so it's all good. There's an alarm.
Good. We're not giving any addresses out.
Yeah.
Just a link down there where people can get custom drums made. Super high quality ones.
Contact the man,
Yes. Jordan,
and he'll take care of you.
100% he will. So what's the your top 3 drummers?
Oh my gosh. That's like the hardest. That
a very
has
hard
to be the
question.
hardest question
Right?
for any
Yeah.
drummer.
I know.
Drop 3.
that's why we asked
5.
I know. I'll just give you 3 off the top of my head.
Okay.
Number 1. This is okay. So this is definitely my
Biased?
No.
Okay.
And here's
like the guy who leads to
dude. Here's the thing. You want to shout out all the drummers you work for because they're
the best.
they're your favorite drummers, but you like want to make them feel good, but also like you don't want people to think you're sucking up to them. I'm gonna give you 3 of my favorite drummers I don't work for.
Okay. Perfect.
How about that? Okay?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't work for.
Yes.
So number 1, and if I did work for him, he would still be number 1. Jason Tate, who played drums for the Weaker Thens.
Oh yeah. Okay. Great band.
Talk about just an absolutely creative drummer, incredible energy. I saw him once put a pizza pan on a snare drum. Pretty sure it was a pizza pan. But also, if you watch the my favorite live record of all time is the Weaker Thens live at the Burton Cummings Theater.
Okay,
in
check it.
So they're from Winnipeg, and the first song, which was the song, the song I proposed to my wife in our kitchen.
Romance here.
Well, because she said put a record on, and I put that record on. But he's playing drums and also playing Glock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Jason Tate, by far, top of my Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
If you have never heard of the Weaker Thens,
I have, absolutely.
but anyone listening,
Yes,
you need to
check it out.
It's 4 records and a live record that'll blow your mind. So that's number 1. Number 2, see this is it gets tough.
It's tough, right?
I'm gonna say, and of course, I'm gonna listen back to this and I'm gonna be like, I forgot. I forgot.
I
this
should have
guy.
said.
I should have said. I'm gonna go with Steve Jordan.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Steve Jordan just because when I sit down and play a drum kit, I'm not much of a drummer, but I like to think that I can keep a really tight pocket. Steve Jordan's the king of pocket, and he also just is. He might be the coolest looking drummer in the world when he plays. He's just got so much swagger.
Right,
and of course he's been on so many recordings, and he's one of those few drummers that when you hear a song that he's on, you can tell it's Steve Jordan playing
He's
drums.
got his signature sound.
He's got his signature sound. So Steve Jordan would be number 2. And then, number 3... I can't take all day, right? This is like you got a timer.
When you're in your teens.
When I was in my teens. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's hard on, right?
Dude. Okay, I'm
What
gonna,
record blew your mind in your bedroom? You're like, what?
well, but then I'm going through like the Jordan Hastings or Tim Oxford.
Did not work for it.
Yeah, exactly. Paul Kohler from Silverstein, Lowell Campbell from Winter Sleep. I'm going through all these dudes that are my buds now. You know what? I'm gonna give a shout out to a drummer that isn't very well known, and he really should be. My buddy Mike Lang. He's a friend of mine. I've built drums for him. I've worked in the studio for him. But Mike Lang, he was the drummer for a band called The Love Machine, which is like a legendary Ottawa band.
Okay.
And they recently reunited and did a reunion show, and I drove to Ottawa just to see
catch
it.
Nice. Wednesday night,
No, it was a Friday or Saturday night. It was sold out. This band was a big deal in Ottawa.
Okay.
And Mike is not only has the chops and he's so creative, but sings like an angel.
Okay.
So he's
Playing and singing, I like
and
that.
he's also another drummer. It's him and Jason Tate who can play drums and clock at the same time.
At the same time.
It's incredible. So
gotcha.
Mike Lang, The Love Machine, Ottawa Legend. That's my third answer
like
because that was such an important band to me growing up in high school in Ottawa. So yeah,
Nice.
and then we can do like another 30 if you
Yeah,
want.
I'm sure we could. No, that's a good top 3. Awesome.
What about top 3 rudiments?
Dude, I don't know rudiments.
No, eh?
Paradiddle, paradiddle diddle.
There you go.
Okay, paradiddle diddle, and 6-stroke roll.
6-stroke.
Because Motown.
Yeah, see, I love the 6-stroke,
Motown.
man. It's
Or is
so good.
Motown 5? No, Motown 6. So my dad was a big Motown junkie.
Yeah.
Someone's going to be in the comments be like, no, Motown's
It was
5.
5. Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is
That's
when
my favorite.
All I know is when I play drums, when I sit down at a drum kit, I do the Motown, right?
Right.
The rack tom to the snare drum.
Yeah.
That's like the only thing I can do on drums.
Okay.
And my dad was a big Motown nut, so that's my number 1 rudiment.
That's
and then
number
paradiddle, and then paradiddle diddle.
Diddle.
Guys, I'm not a technical drummer.
No. What's the last song you air drum to?
The last song I air drum to. Oh my gosh. I'm trying. So I last week I went and saw Jason Isbell, who's incredible. His drummer, I don't know his drummer's name. Incredible drummer. I'm trying to think if I air drummed during that show or if I didn't.
Okay.
I'm gonna say at one point I might
probably did.
have got like a for a second.
Yeah.
So I don't know what song exactly, but let's say at the Jason Isbell concert
Jason Isbell.
last week.
All right,
That was the last time I air drummed to a song.
There you go. Okay. If there wasn't.
hard, eh?
Yeah, hard man.
I love it. Well, everybody, make sure you check out Drummers Paradise Podcast on all our socials, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Jordan, YC Drum Company.
Check them out.
Check
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate
hard
it.
work, man, and it shows your products are top quality. Holding these things and moving these things around for setup, it was just amazing and a pleasure.
Thank you guys. And thank you so much for having me. And you know, you can always just take one of those and just launch it across the room. It'll hold up.
It will hold up. There's quality behind it,
Yeah.
100%, and we'll definitely.
They're meant to be played.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna hang out again. We definitely.
All right,
have to
guys.
do it.
Sure, it's awesome to be here and for you to invite us into your space.
Next time we do this, we won't be in YC Drummer Hell. We'll be at Drummers Paradise.
There you go. Let's
All
do
right.
it. Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
I love it, buddy.
100%. Thank
All right,
you.
and everybody, again, thank you. Subscribe, comment. We love it.
Share, tell
Let's
the
keep it
drummer,
going.
and let's keep growing the community.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
In paradise.
Later.
Thanks, guys.
I